June 1st Town Hall meeting. And I'm going to ask Ms. Carolyn Ward to come up to give our invocation.
Let us pray. Father God, in the name of Jesus, we come before you as humble as we know how, just to tell you thank you, Lord. Oh God, we thank you for another day. We ask, God, that you be with us in this town meeting. Oh, God, we ask that you bless those that are involved. Bless our mayor. Bless the commissioners, the town manager. Bless our town attorney, the chief of police, our fire department, our rescue squad. We ask, God, that you will bless them as they go forth, God, to keep us protected and safe and for the good of the people. These and all other blessings we ask in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. And please join me in standing if you are able for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we'll begin with our citizen presentations. MJ, if you'll kick us off.
My name is MJ Cromartie, and I reside at 3542 South Walnut Street in Farmville. Last town meeting, my neighbors and family voiced our displeasure with the industrial dump located at 0 West Pine Street. Tonight, I want to provide updates of progress at that location. I mean, true progress. The lawns, parcels on that block that are owned by Mr. Dixon, I accidentally ran into him too. We had a good conversation, have been mowed and weeds were sprayed. Items have been removed from the dump area and some of the remaining items have been tidied up. I want to thank everyone that listened to us and made moves to correct this area. However, a lot of work still needs to be done. What I'd like now is if we can provide some sort of status or timeline, if you have that, Justin.
So what we generally do in code enforcement matter like this is that we'll continue to work with the property owner. If they're in the, making progress, which clearly in this case Mr. Dixon is, we'll continue to work with him. If we get to a point where we see that, status, is stagnant and that, work is not continuing to be done, that's when we begin to push a little hard on the enforcement side. But typically what we do is we generally, when you do have a property owner that's working with you to come into compliance, we'll continue to work with them. And in my conversations with Mr. Dixon, I know he's working to, get it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Can you tell us what good and better looks like here? So when you're looking for what that final product is, what is it?
So it's bringing it into, to final compliance, to make sure that, all the areas there are clean. There's not overgrown vegetation, there's not things that are sitting there on the lot that could potentially be able to become a nuisance, that, could attract rodents, vermin, snakes, anything like that. So those are things that we look at and make sure that it does not set up to become a public nuisance.
Do you feel
Is he going to put a solid fence, pardon me, is he going to put a solid fence like the regulations state? So
given that the lot is empty, as long as there's nothing that eventually in there, if there's storage in there, we may have to look at doing the slots on that. But if it's just an empty lot, which I believe my understanding is what he's trying to work toward, it would not require the slatted fences. The slatted fences would be required depending on what the eventual use would be in there at the time. I know it's currently zoned industrial, but there's no industrial activity. There's storage on the site, but there's no actual activity there that's industrial. If it were to get to a point where there's an activity taking place, then we would require the slats on the fence. But again, that's that would be the last resort. Well, not a last resort, but what we would ask them to do if we find out that there's actually going to be some activity there. But if they're working toward just the cleanup, like it's been stated, then we'll just continue to give them some time to work to get that addressed. But if we do need to start enforcing slatted fences or things like that, we can do so at that time.
Okay, see you next month. I had to leave, by the way, not to be rude.
That's okay. Right. Thanks for joining us. Next is Cheryl Patterson.
Good evening. I am a resident of Farmville these last 10 years at 3257 Duke Drive. Like millions, and perhaps you as well, I have been stunned at the rapid growth of hyper data centers. They are big and noisy, stinky, water-guzzling, energy-burning monstrosities for artificial intelligence. Did you know that last year data centers in the United States drove nearly half of all new growth in demand for electricity? Almost 50%. So curious as to where Farmville might fit into the data center, I contacted Justin, our amazing town manager. Thank you for your response. We all know that your plate is full as we navigate the current challenges in Farmville, and your willingness to address my questions during this time, this busy time, is greatly appreciated. So thank you. I did learn from Justin that we do not currently have a zoning ordinance for data centers. He did assure me that for a data center to locate here, it would require an ordinance to be written with definitions, standards, and regulations. And so I'm here tonight to ask, why wait? Why wait to write such an ordinance? Why wait for a company to come knocking, wanting to build a data center? In a letter that I sent to each of you last Wednesday, I asked several questions. Here's some of them. What proactive work needs to be taken now so that Farmville has clear zoning policies that would prevent a company from ever wanting to build a data center here? I believe in being proactive. I believe it's better than being reactive. Can a moratorium on data centers in Farmville be passed now while zoning policies are being written? How can Farmville prepare now to avoid the legal challenges similar to those that face Tarboro? You may remember that last year the town rejected a bid from Energy Storage Solutions to build a 500-acre, $6.4 billion data center. And now ESS is suing Tarboro over the bid process and is planning to appeal Tarboro's rejection. The legal fees alone could wipe out Tarboro. I also asked in my letter to you, can a potential data center company enter into non-disclosure agreements with Farmville leaders and employees while restricting information from the public? I'm confident that each of you would not allow a company to remain anonymous in such a huge undertaking. However, can you be confident that the commissioners who come after you would do the same? No one wants these machines, not in their backyard, their town, their county, their state. Some of you may know that just last week, the North Carolina Senate introduced a bipartisan bill to stop data centers from raising water and energy costs in the municipalities where they exist. I believe that Farmville has an open window of opportunity. I believe that Farmville has an open window to determine what is best for our community in this age of artificial intelligence. While that window is closing faster than we would like, we can use this time, this calm before a possible storm, to determine Farmville's near future. We can think, we can evaluate, we can discern now, not in a crisis. I strongly believe that each of you have a shared vision for Farmville that does not include a data center. I believe that each of you value actual intelligence over artificial. And I strongly believe that you all grasp both the urgency and the ability to create a zoning ordinance that prohibits data centers. So I ask again, why wait?
Thank you so much. Joyce Albritton.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, Justin, Chris, my name is Joyce Albritton, and I live at 4074 East Horn Avenue. And I know when you see me walk up here, you say, oh, what does she want tonight? I am not begging. I am not complaining. I am just asking for information. I think we all can agree that for the long-term benefit of the town government and therefore the constituents of Farmville, that all qualified applicants be considered when there is an opening in various departments. I understand that there is a position for permanent police chief and planning director open at this time. According to your own policy, when position vacancies occur, HR shall publicize these opportunities for employment, including salary, qualifications, and so forth. It goes on to state where these postings should be placed, such as newspaper, professional publications, and other relevant publications as needed in order to establish, this is the key, a diverse and qualified applicant pool. Vacancy notices should also be posted in all town employment locations, containing assurances of equal employment opportunity, and shall comply with federal and state statutes. So, I would just like to know if these advertisements have been made for these open positions, and if not, when will they be? Thank you. Would you like to answer that, Justin?
Sure, I'll be glad to. So for the planning director position, you're looking at the planning director as well. Yes.
We know your plate is full.
Right, yeah, and so right now I'm currently and still planning to continue to oversee the planning director role as a part of the proposed budget for the upcoming year. We have frozen that position in terms of the salary. I will continue to oversee. We do have another person within the department that's handling the day-to-day operations of the department. When I do, I oversee that individual, and also continue to administer our planning board, as well as tonight. Like, we'll have a couple of rezonings that will come to the Board of Commissioners. I'll be handling those as well as a part of my duties. As to the chief of police, we currently have an interim police chief right now. We will be advertising the position for the police chief later this year. We have not advertised that yet, but when we do so, it will meet all of the requirements, both of our policy and as well as any policies regarding employment. So.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Valerie Garner. And I did forget to mention it earlier, but if you will state your name and your address.
Okay. My name is Valerie Garner. I live at 3962 South Main Street here in Farmville. I am here tonight on behalf of the Farmville Senior Council. I just have some questions. I've heard some rumors about increases in our current utilities. So that's the first question that I want some answers about. I've heard that we're going to see some increases in our utilities starting July. So is that true?
Depending on what occurs later this evening with that portion of the budget, what has been proposed in our budget this year would be to increase the flat rate, the flat user rate, not the usage rate, but the just flat rate for water, sewer, and electric. And so what this does is this will help to offset the costs in which are being passed along to us. This year on the electric side, there was a proposed 3.5% increase from Electricities who we purchased our power from. There was a 2.7% increase that's being passed along by Greenwood Utilities, who we purchased water from for a portion of the year. And as well, there was I believe a 2.4% increase from GFL, who handles garbage collection. What we look to do as a part of the budget, because I know in years past, we have had to raise our utility rates, the usage rates. What we looked at doing this year to try to help minimize the impact on citizens was to look at seeing if we were at a spot in our budget where we could leave the usage rates where they currently were, but in doing so, we would still have to, in order to keep up with the rising cost of equipment, supplies, everything, we still had to make an increase to be sure we could account for those increases that were passed along to us. So instead of doing it at a rate in which it would increase based off of your usage, we're doing it at a flat rate of $5 each month.
For each entity, like water, $5 for water, $5 for utility?
That's correct.
And, well, I saw that we recently got an increase with our trash pickup, which is $25 now.
That increase, again, that's one that's passed along through the town's contract with GFL, and so each time there's a increase that they pass along each year to us, and so this year that increase was 2.4%. So the increase that's passed along through that, and that one, don't quote me, I don't believe that one's a full $5 on that, but the increase that we would have on that would be enough to cover the 2.4% increase that's passed along through the Consumer Price Index from GFL.
So that's you talking about right about $5 a month or $5 to $20 a month?
So no, we're talking, it would be $5 for each of the utilities. So your water, your sewer, and electric, there would be $5 on each of those. So you're looking at about $15 there. I don't have the exact GFL figure in front of me and what that increase would be in terms of the per month, but I do know that would just be a 2.4% increase on the current.
Okay, so okay, now for people that have, seniors that have those lights, those pole lights in their backyard, is that going to be a surcharge on that also?
That's just that's included in your usage rates. Okay. That's what we're trying to avoid, is to have an increase on the usage rate. What you're going to, in this case, you're going to have $5 more per month, but the example that I've told people when talking about this, if we take this past January, for example, where we were at or below freezing for most every day in January, if you increase your rate on your electric, then 3.2% or 3.5% is what electricity is proposed. So let's say we had a 3.5% increase on the utility rate and not a $5 flat rate, you would find yourself paying substantially more per month at the 3.5% increase as opposed to the $5 flat rate. What we wanted to do was to try to stabilize our rates. I know they've been, over the last decade or so, the rates have gradually gone up, the usage rates for our utilities. So what we wanted to do was to attempt to stabilize the usage rates, but we still, at the end of the day, we still have to be able to make sure that we can continue to provide the same level of service. Again, just like with anybody now, the town, is taking on higher costs for supplies, equipment, all those things. So we have to be able to make up that difference. Not to mention the increase that's being passed along by electricities. However, we did find this year we were in a position that we thought that we could look at the flat rate instead of having to go to the utility rate. So again, in the scheme of things, by the time it all works out within a year, and you'll find yourself better off with the $5 per month as opposed to looking at an increase on the rate. Another example would be with the summertime months coming up. If we were to have a really warm July, which is very likely in eastern North Carolina, a lot of times you'd rather take the $5 as opposed to 3.5% increase on your existing. So what we've tried to do, we realize there's an increase. We try to avoid that if we can, but in this case, what we're trying to do is minimize the impact that it would have on the citizens.
Okay, thank you. Number two, like I said, I live at 3962 South Main Street. Directly across from me, there is an abandoned house there. I don't think I've seen the owner there since 2024. Late 2024, cutting the grass. You wouldn't know it was a house there until the winter time comes. Most people, when they sit on my porch, they say, I never knew a house was there, because it is so covered up. So I'm trying to find out, how can the town of Farmville get in contact with the owner? I don't know whether they are passed away, because like I said, I haven't seen him since 2024.
What was the address again for that property?
I don't know. I'm at 3962.
Okay, I'll look that up.
It used to be the Dupree's house.
Okay.
And so I don't know whether he's passed away, or I think the town of Farmville maybe came and cut it one time in 2025 when I complained. But now, everything is just about like it was before. It's overgrown, you see deers over there,
Yeah.
you know, and all that stuff, so.
And it could be, and I will look this up and get back with you on this. This could be a situation, we go through this with some properties, you know, each and every year. We have to go through the process before we can even send the town out there to mow is a lengthy one. If you start to get, you know, a rainy, you know, couple of weeks, the grass is gonna shoot right up. We've tried in years past to amend our ordinance to, you know, make it so that it would be quicker for us to be able to go back, you know, in years, subsequent years to clean that up. But unfortunately, the way that North Carolina general statutes are written, we have to, each year, the clock essentially starts over. Once a person has a certain number of violations for grass, they become chronic violators. Unfortunately, by statute, that clock starts over each year. And so, you know, unfortunately, that hampers us because then once, you know, you have like I said, you have winter time, nothing's growing, and spring hits, we have to go through the letter process again. By the time we can list them as a chronic violator, grass growing season has stopped. We're right back in winter. We're doing the same thing every year. So
Yeah. Could y'all please look and see?
Oh, absolutely.
Get in contact with that. I would really appreciate it because I don't want to be a nuisance. Thank you.
Thank you. Bernard Atkinson.
Hi, my name is Bernard Atkinson, and I'm a resident at 3559 Shackelford Street in Farmville. And I was here to ask about assistance for home repair, or basically urban development. I am a longtime resident of Farmville, and when I returned home in 2017, my family home has suffered some deterioration, and I was just here to see about trying to get help because in the course of my time away, my father, his health declined, and my health is declining as well. I have a heart pump, and I'm trying to get on the transplant list now, but the house is in need of repairs that I can't afford. And I was just wondering if there's any programs available to assist with some of these repairs.
Manager Oaks, I know that there is some previous things that we have been working on as well as some things that are going to be coming up potentially in the future.
That's correct, yeah. So one of the things that we have would be the CDBG program. Currently, there is not a new funding cycle open. I don't know. Rich, are you aware of when the next funding cycle may become open?
They're probably going to do it this fall.
This fall, okay, all right. So what I'll do, if you can get me your information, what I will do is I will pass along. McDavid Associates handles our CDBG program as far as the application. So if you can give me your information, I've got it written here, but if you can shoot me an email or give me a call, I'll be sure to get you on the list. In the meantime, also we have another group in which the town is exploring, beginning to work with that handles rehab for single family. So once we get a little more into and have that a little more bona fide, I can reach out to you and maybe potentially make some connections there as well.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, really appreciate it. AC Salam.
AC Salam, I can get mail at Box 3260 here in Farmville. I am aware that the town needs revenue in order to run and offset costs. Rate increases basically increase the amount of money to people who use the most. Flat rate increases basically hit the people who use the least and can afford it the least. Flat rate increases hit people on fixed incomes disproportionately harder than people who can pay the increase in rates. So basically, people who lose nothing or use less are hit as hard with the increase as people who use more. So rate increases actually make more sense because if you use more, you most likely have the ability to pay more. But people who have been using nothing have been reducing their usage in order to try to keep a hold of their bills and all. Fixed income are really, really damaged when there are flat rate increases. That's what I have to say.
And Town Manager Oaks, can you just confirm that that is correct? Someone who is not using any additional of the utilities would still pay that equal $5 flat rate for
Sorry, ask
utility?
the question, sorry.
Can you just confirm that even for individual or residents that do not use additional utilities for whatever that may be? I know you mentioned water, sewer, and electricity. There would be equal $5 flat rate for each of those for everyone?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, AC. Pam Strickland?
Good evening. My name is Pam Strickland. I live at 4128 Dale Drive and have been a citizen of Farmville for most of my life. My nonprofit was born here too, I think many of you will know. And I'm here to ask you all to not reduce the nonprofit line item to less than half of what it was last year, especially in the current environment. The federal government, as you know, has cut tons of grants that support nonprofits, and in other places they've just eliminated line items that support those nonprofits. The state, of course, hasn't done anything to try to fill in any of those gaps, and this economic environment just has people afraid, and they're not donating like they used to because they're not sure what's going to happen. They're keeping things close to the chest. We all know that nonprofits are the most vulnerable among us. And I believe I speak for all of the nonprofits that serve Farmville when I say that we want to continue to do that. But we need your help. I listened to each nonprofit that spoke here last month, just like you did, and I didn't hear a single one of them say that they did work that wasn't needed, that wasn't valuable to Farmville. I'm not saying that North Carolina Stop Human Trafficking should receive funds and others shouldn't, because I think every one of those groups is doing really good work here in our community. I'm asking you to find that money, reinstate the line item to the amount that it was last year, use the rainy day fund, I don't know, get some accounting magic going, but put it back where it was. You obviously can't fund each of those organizations at the amount that they ask for. But you can still give each of them something to show that you value their work and that you recognize that they are contributing to making Farmville a nice place to live.
Thank you. Auto Hub.
I think they're here for the rezoning.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. We will move now to Town Manager Oaks' comments.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Commissioners. Just a couple of quick things. Just an update on the fire station project. The public notice period on the finding of no significant impact and the notice of intent to request a release of funds, that has now been completed. Today, I submitted the request to release of funds to HUD. Following a 15-day internal review period, we can resume construction and begin to draw the funds down on this project. We anticipate at this point being cleared to start back construction the week of June the 22nd. This past month, I just want to say thank you to our Parks and Rec staff, our police department, as well as our Public Works department for their work in helping to put together the Farmville 5K Walk, Ruck, and Run. as well as the Bike to School event that took place. And I know Alex and Jeffrey, I know you guys had a big hand in the bike event. I know that was a major success. So congratulations to you all. Again, thank you to all the staff who helped make those events happen. And then finally, there is an ADA public input survey that has just been launched. As you're aware, we are working on a ADA transition plan. We are moving to the public comment or public input portion of that plan now. That survey was launched online this past Thursday, and it will run tentatively right now through about August the 15th. So you can find the link on our website, the top of the webpage, and it will also be distributed around on our social media accounts as well. And that's all I've got.
Any questions from our commissioners? Next is our financial report. Any questions from the commissioners about what you have in your packet? Seeing none, we'll move on to changes, additions, or deletions to the agenda. Do we have a motion to accept the agenda as is?
Motion to accept the agenda as is.
Commissioner Smith made a motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it. Agenda has been accepted. And next we'll get to the special presentations. This month is a especially exciting one for us here in the town of Farmville as we celebrate Juneteenth, and I'm going to ask Carolyn what. We got a lot of exciting things coming up in the month of June here, don't we?
Yes, we do.
I'm excited. So here, recognizing Juneteenth in Farmville, North Carolina. And Justin, is this our first time recognizing Juneteenth?
I believe it's the first time we've done a proclamation, yes, sir.
First time recognizing Juneteenth as a proclamation. Whereas news of the end of slavery did not reach the frontier areas of the United States, in the particular the state of Texas and other southwestern states, until months after the conclusion of the Civil War. More than 2 years after President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863, and whereas on June 19th, 1865, Union soldiers led by Major General Gordon Granger arrived in Galveston, Texas, with news that the Civil War had ended and the enslaved were free. And whereas African Americans who had been slaves in the Southwest celebrated June 19th, commonly known as Juneteenth, as inspiration and encouragement for future generations. And whereas African Americans from the Southwest continued the tradition of observing Juneteenth for more than 150 years. Whereas Juneteenth celebrations have been held to honor African Americans' freedom, history, and heritage, while encouraging self-development and respect for all cultures. And whereas slavery was not officially abolished until the ratification of the 13th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States in December 1865. And whereas the faith and strength of character demonstrated by former slaves and the descendants of former slaves remain an example for all people of the United States, regardless of background, religion, or race. And whereas the town of Farmville is committed to promoting diversity, racial, and cultural harmony, now therefore, I, Alex Joyner, do hereby proclaim June 19th, 2026 as Juneteenth in the town of Farmville, North Carolina, and urge all citizens to become more aware of the significance of this celebration in African American history and in the heritage of our nation, state, and town. This day, the 1st of June, 2026. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And one additional comment that I did forget to make as I was up there, we will be having a Juneteenth celebration on June 20th at the Community Center and the Hobbs Pavilion out there. Thank you, which will be from 12 to 3. So we hope to see each and every one of you out there. A lot of good things coming. So now I'll open it up for the public hearing. The first, and we do have 3 different ones here, the rezoning request for parcel 81942, located on West Vine Street. Town Manager Oakes, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, so the request that's coming before the board this evening is from Muhammad Ashkar, if I got that correct. Is the owner of Auto Hubs Incorporated. He's requesting that the parcel be rezoned from industrial to highway business. Mr. Ashkar has proposed the potential use for this parcel, which would be and he's looking at the front 3 acres, which is along Marlboro Road. So you'll hear me talk a little bit about that, the split there. This property, it is addressed to Vines, but it's actually the usage just stretches out onto Marlboro Road. What he is looking to do would be to utilize the front 3 acres, or the southernmost 3 acres that's along Marlboro Road for a automotive care center. The parcel, as I mentioned, is currently zoned industrial. You're seeking to rezone to highway business, which would be a better fit for the proposed use for this property. This request will allow him to operate the proposed car dealership on the southernmost 3 acres fronting Marlboro Road. This would be similar to the existing uses in the vicinity along this corridor and would not be as intensive a use as allowed under the current zoning classifications. The parcel under consideration is classified as employment in the 2022 future land use plan. It's thus consistent with the request. These areas are located along major thoroughfares and include uses that are included but are not limited to industrial, warehouse, office, research and development, tech flex, medical, energy, and distribution. Upon unanimous approval from the Planning Board at their May 12, 2026 meeting, staff recommends to the Board of Commissioners approving the rezoning request from industrial to highway business. We have the applicants here with us this evening.
So now we will open up the public hearing. If you would like to come up and speak, you are more than welcome to about this matter. Or ask questions. Seeing none and hearing none, are we looking for a motion now?
I need to close the...
We're going to close the public hearing, and now we will be looking for a motion?
Yes.
Excellent. We're going to be looking for a motion to accept this rezoning request as outlined. Do we have a motion from one of our commissioners?
I have some questions before we go any further.
Absolutely.
How much is the total parcel? The acres they're going to use is 3 acres along the road?
The total is 13.57 acres.
And is the address for the whole parcel Vine Street? Why wouldn't it be Marlboro Road?
So there's not an access to the issue that come into play here was that the intended use was to be, along Marlboro Road. I don't know if there used to be an access. There looks like there appears to be an easement off of Vines that could potentially become an access to the back portion of this property. However, at the time that the applicant approached the town, because he wanted to go ahead and get started on the front 3 acres to be able to do the automotive shop, or the car shop, he wanted to look at subdividing the property, just cutting out the front 3 acres and then keeping the remaining 10 or so acres in the rear. The issue, though, is with our subdivision ordinance and with the county's addressing ordinance, there has to be access to a property. While there could be access along Marlboro Road, the back portion, the back 10 acres, until the applicant is able to obtain the easement that appears to be there, they would not be able to provide access. So we could not do a subdivision to subdivide off the front 3 acres. So the options were that the applicant could wait until the subdivision was complete if he was able to acquire an access for the rear 10 acres, or he could move forward with rezoning the entire parcel to highway business. What the applicant has opted to do in this case is to rezone the entirety of the property as highway business, and the access in this case would be coming off of Marlboro Road. there really is not an address assigned at this point. I believe it's 0 Vine Street, which, in Opus, it means that there's no address assigned. If, this is our request were to be approved, when the applicant submits his zoning application, we would then submit the plot plan showing where the building would be located along Marlboro Road. We would submit that to the county, at which time the address that would be assigned to Marlboro Road. That does not preclude in the future, if the applicant were to get the access to the rear 10 acres, if he wanted to come back and do a subdivision. I believe that is the intent, is if you eventually get that you would come back and look at subdividing out the rear 10 acres. If they were to do that, that they could do that through subdivision. That would be a simple subdivision. It could be done, signed off on in office, at which time that would, potentially put that piece of property eligible to be rezoned to something else. Of course, keeping in mind that, whatever else it would be rezoned to, would need to be consistent with the other zoning in the area.
Okay. I don't think I have any further questions. Does the Vine Street parcel, there is actually currently access from Vine Street onto that property?
I don't believe there's the roadway they can access there. Not that we could sign off on, because I've talked with Simon at McDade. We looked at this, and currently there's no easement in which the property owner would have access to, in which we would be able to establish connection to that so that it would meet the subdivision ordinance. There appears to be an access there, but in order to be able to apply for the subdivision, the applicant would have to have access to that. Currently, the applicant does not have access to the easement to connect to that portion of the property.
You'd have to have legal access.
Right. Yes.
All right, thank you, Town Manager. That's all the questions I have, Mayor.
Any additional questions?
It appears from this Pitt County Opus that, is there an easement to it that Darden Street could be extended to serve this parcel? Or is that just lines on a piece of paper?
No, that is where I believe that proposed easement would be at, but that's not an easement that the town has, so we could not go in legally and extend there.
Any additional questions from our commissioners?
And we have our applicant here tonight as well, if anybody has any questions.
Do we have a motion to approve the request for rezoning parcel 81942 located on West Vine from industrial to highway business?
Motion to approve the rezoning request.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Fields. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion goes approved. Thank you. Next, we will open it up for our second public hearing line item here. So a rezoning request for parcel 7756 located on Belcher Street from industrial to residential. And Town Manager Oaks, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you. Phil Lewis, the owner of Palco Investments LLC, is requesting that this parcel, which is located, as you mentioned, at the corner of Belcher Street and North May Street, be rezoned from industrial to residential R5. Mr. Lewis' proposed use for this parcel would be a single-family residential unit. This parcel is currently zoned industrial, however, it does not meet the minimum lot size requirements for this district. This zoning designation that's here, I believe, is just a vestige of, years past where it was a highly industrial area there. So this board may recall we rezoned another parcel nearby back in December from industrial as well. The applicant is seeking to rezone residential 5, which would be a better fit for the proposed use for this property. All other lots that are facing Belcher Street between North May and North Field Street are currently zoned residential 5 as well. The parcel under consideration is classified as mixed residential in the 2022 future land use plan, and is thus consistent with the request. This classification is located in areas served by current or planned utilities and is in close proximity to existing or planned commercial services. Upon unanimous approval from the Planning Board at their May 12, 2026 meeting, staff recommends the Board of Commissioners approve the rezoning request from industrial to R5.
Any questions from our commissioners? And now we will open it up for our public hearing as well. Anyone who would like to ask questions or may have a statement about this? And again, any questions from our commissioners? Seeing none, hearing none, we will close the public hearing. Do we have a motion to accept the request for rezone on parcel 7756 located on Belcher Street from industrial to residential?
Make a motion to go ahead and rezone.
Commissioner Wainwright has made a motion. Any discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. And our last public hearing line item is for our 2026-2027 budget ordinance. And I will turn it over to Town Manager Justin Oaks.
Thank you very much, Mayor. At our May meeting, as you're aware, we presented staff presented the proposed budget to you. In the time since then, the board met for our budget workshop a couple of weeks ago. At the time, we discussed there were a lot of questions that the board had regarding what had been proposed. One of the biggest questions that we looked at, and it was brought up, has already been brought up earlier tonight. One of those being the proposed increase to the flat rate on the utilities. As I mentioned earlier, what we looked to do with this was to be able to look to stabilize our rates, as we have been pretty consistent in the last decade at looking at rate increases as opposed to looking at our flat rate. So that was one of the things that was proposed as a part of that and discussed during our budget retreat that day. One of the other items that we talked about quite a bit was our funding for the outside groups. The only proposed change from what was presented at the May meeting and what was presented to you, we discussed at the board retreat, is the total funds that would be allocated for the outside funding groups. What had been proposed at the time of the budget workshop and presented in the budget was $20,000 for the outside funding groups. We had lengthy discussion that day. We've had some more discussion since that time, and what we have proposed this evening for that would be to up the amount recommended for the outside funding groups from $20,000 to $23,240. And so what we had discussed as well was that, the board does not have to make a decision tonight on where that $23,240 is divvied up to, because those funds will not be distributed to those groups until the new budget year starts. However, what we were looking for this evening is to finalize the total amount that we have there within the budget. Other than that, there were no proposed changes otherwise, other than that movement of the $3,240. That money was pulled from the facade grant program. We had $10,000 that was budgeted for the facade grant program. We moved those $3,240 from that, so we still have $6,760 budgeted for the facade program should someone want to apply for that this year. One of the things that we clarified since that meeting is that we do not currently have any outstanding facade grants. The only one we had currently ongoing was closed out during this year. With that said, that was the only proposed change. Everything else was is still as it was presented to you and discussed as a part of our board retreat or budget retreat. At this time, what we're seeking is to have the public hearing and then to take action on the budget as proposed.
At this time, we'll open it up, our public hearing. Anyone who would like to step up and ask a question, make a statement about the 2026-2027 budget for the town of Farmville.
my name and contact that was stated earlier. I would just like to reiterate that if there is some type of consideration that can be made, that if there is a utility increase, that it be made to the usage rate rather than the flat rate, so that our seniors can continue to live on real food and not cat food or whatever. That would just, if there's a way to change it over from the flat rate to the usage rate, that would be very helpful.
Thank you. Anyone else? Commissioners, questions? Comments? We will now close the public hearing. Do we have a motion to accept the 2026-2027 budget ordinance as it appears in your packet?
Motion to accept the 26-27 budget.
Commissioner Fields has made a motion to accept the 2026-27 budget as outlined in your packet. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The budget is approved. Next on our list is items of consent. You can see approval of minutes. We have May 4th, May 19th meeting, adoption of ordinance for our 2025-2026 budget ordinance, both for general and for the library donation, and then for the another library line item, and then the approval of the audit contract for the year ending June 30th, 2025. Do we have a motion to approve these items for consent?
Make a motion that we approve these items for consent.
Motion has been made. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Items for consent have been approved. Next, we'll get to our items for discussion or decision. So first is our Division of Water Infrastructure. I'm going to ask Mr. Rich Moore to come up and share a little information with us.
All right. Good evening. And this is going to take you back, back in September or end of September last year, and we submitted an application to the Division of Water Infrastructure for $2 million to provide financial assistance to renovate the Johnsonville sewer pump station. And it's a pretty old structure. It's got a lot of old piping, old assets that are in it. Hadn't been that long ago that we had some pipe failure and had to make some local cost investments that were pretty significant to make repairs to that facility. And recognizing that we were potentially facing additional cost, we chose the route of trying to go ahead and take advantage of the town's distress designation to see if we could be proactive and obtain grant assistance. And where in the past the state has really limited the grant allocations through these programs, this is one of those times where the town's designation as a distressed community comes into play. And based on the application, the Division of Water Infrastructure has chosen to award Farmville $2 million viable utility reserve grant, and that exceeds the typical grant allocation limits. And again, that's because of the designation and the documentation that was provided. So at the end of April, the Division of Water Infrastructure issued their letter of intent to fund that $2 million and to progress further, to kind of start the clock in terms of the timeline to implement the improvements. The state asks that funding recipient, in this case the town, pass a resolution agreeing to accept those funds and to provide the assurances that the town will comply with the provisions of the offer and acceptance that will ultimately be presented, and authorizes Mayor Joyner to execute any associated award documents. And so we've got that resolution in your packet for your consideration. And again, this is a $2 million grant award. So this is a nice nugget to address what I would say is a critical infrastructure need to an asset that is very important to the town. If anybody's ever been out there and seen that thing, it's a risky place to be hanging around. So this is really make a wholesale improvement, with no town funds to, really address these needs. So, I think this is a fantastic, award that the town got. And again, this is all because of, the efforts that y'all are willing to invest in pursuing these funds. So y'all are all to be applauded for that. So asking for consideration to approve that resolution.
And Mr. Moore, just to reiterate what you said no town funds, correct?
No town funds and no loan funds. So, when my business, loan's a 4-letter word. So, I'm gonna come to you, and of course, if it was a loan offer, I'd send somebody else up here. But because it's a grant, I'll come up here and say, you got a 100% grant offer.
Any questions from our commissioners? Thank you.
No, thank y'all.
And we're going to look for a motion.
Motion to approve the resolution.
So do we have a motion from one of our commissioners for the acceptance of this grant of $2 million for our pump station?
I would gladly make that motion.
Commissioner Fields has made a motion. Any discussion? Seeing none, hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The grant is approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next line item is our Clearwater Solutions. I want to ask Mr. Brian Shackelford if he'll come up here.
Good evening. As y'all know, we've been contracting out our wastewater treatment plant for many years, as long as I've been here anyway. Well, the costs keep going up, and there's a few things that could probably be done better. And I've been approached with Clearwater to give us an offer. So I'm going to like to turn it over to Mr. Drake Robart. He can answer all your questions.
So as I said, my name is Drake Robart. I'm the Eastern Area Manager for Clearwater Solutions. Tonight I brought two of our lead operators, Travis Rouse, who's about 10 minutes down the road from here, and Jason Murphy, just to kind of show the operators. And that's what we are. We're a utilities operations company, and our specialty is water and wastewater, as well as making good operators. I can't take credit for all of them. Obviously, Jason's been in it longer than I have here. But between them, we have 3 years of experience, all the way up to 30 years of experience. So just as a showcase of what Clearwater brings to the table, it's experience, youth, and growth. But tonight, if there's any questions on any of the information that you've been given about our proposal to operate your wastewater plant, I'd be glad to answer them.
We will open it up for any questions from our commissioners. You do have a packet here in front of you. And Town Manager Oaks, thank you for sending out the slide deck of this so we could prepare.
And to give you a brief summary of your packet there, Clearwater Solutions is in 8 different states. We're an Eastern-based company, 100% American, U.S. owned. Our largest facility is only about an hour down the road from you in Robertsonville. And then we have facilities all the way down to small lift stations. So we have a wide array of size of facilities as well as customers. We work for school systems, DOT, municipalities, and private ownership.
Any questions?
In the packet, you give some references and some other areas or systems that you're operating. It's probably just the ones that you selected, but most of them are pretty recent. You've been there since 2025. Where are some similar sized operations hours that you've been maybe a little longer in operating?
Right, so Clearwater Solutions entered North Carolina in about 2018. So in North Carolina, we're new, but to the eastern U.S., we've been around for about 18 years. That goes all the way up to 10 million gallon per day facilities in Georgia, and again, all the way down to small lift stations for state-owned facilities. But as far as something that would be specific to your size, I would say with the daily flows, Robertsonville is quite comparable. And again, in North Carolina, we're relatively new, but in some of our other states, I'm not too familiar with them because I'm just the eastern side of it. But I could certainly get you a list. You guys would be in the middle range of what we operate in size and scale.
Would these two gentlemen be out at our facility here?
So that's something that would be up for discussion if you were to choose to go with us. The main thing that I personally like about Clearwater Solutions and my time with them is it is a versatile company. So if it is the board's wishes to maintain current staff, we're accustomed to doing that. If we need to bring in a new crew, we're accustomed to doing that. So that could very likely be the case that you see either of them working at your facility if you were to join with us, or we may onboard new staff. It's, again, a very versatile solution. So.
Where are you based out of?
I'm in LaGrange, so about 20 minutes, 25 minutes.
So if we need you, you're not that far away.
No, I'm not, but I would also say with us being an Eastern-based U.S. company, our COO is about an hour and a half away. So you can find people much higher than myself locally.
And you'll supervise and maintain the facility?
Yes, sir. So just kind of a brief summary of what it would look like is we would have two operators ensuring that you have an ORC and a backup ORC. They would handle your day-to-day task. We have in-house compliance managers that review all of the data. Myself, as somewhat of a quality control and a problem solver, would be viewing the facilities, in your case, on a weekly basis, just to see, is there anything that's slipping? Is there anything that I can help with, as well as any more resources that they might need? My role moving forward, if we were to do so, would be as a communication piece. Generally, we see that operators are great at what they do. Communication and communicating to boards, not so much. And so you would see myself regularly, likely working alongside Brian and just making sure that you're happy with the service you're receiving.
Any other questions?
Yes. My question is, can we be assured that we will not lose any jobs here, someone who's already operating the system that we currently have? I know of at least one local person that if a new company comes in and you didn't keep him, that he would be out of a job. And I'd like to advocate for him keeping this job if we decide to go with CWS.
Absolutely. So, like I said, we're always open to maintaining staff if that's the direction of the board or the owner in whichever case it may be. As long as you're happy with the work that you're receiving from them and they meet our onboarding standards, which are simple drug test, background check, and DMV check. I'd like to say that we have competitive benefits and pay, so it's rare that we cannot get somebody to join on board with us. So again, that would really be to your discretion. If we can work with them, if you want us to work with them, we will. Again, we're accustomed to bringing an entirely new crew in, and we're accustomed to onboarding the existing crew. I can say we're in the process of closing a deal roughly 45 minutes from here, and in that scenario, we'll be bringing on all 4 of their members. As well as at the same time, we just started a new contract right down the road from you where we are providing full staff. So it is certainly a possibility and something we'd be willing to do.
So if they meet all your standards, there's no problem bringing them on?
Absolutely. So long as they meet our standards for onboarding and continue to meet what we consider to be a quality service provider.
And they'd be your direct employee?
That's correct. And that's something that I think makes a big difference, is that we have oversight and quality control that is there regularly. Like I said, I would be at that facility on a weekly basis just to check in. If there's a problem, that would be a more frequent visitation. But again, the key to that is just not letting things get to a point where somebody has to be called in for a problem. We try to address that as soon as possible.
And the operators now are not direct employees of the town, they're direct employees of Viola or...
And all services that are currently being managed will now be transferred over. Any additional questions?
I would say, just for one clarification as far as services go, so there is a $20,000 R&M budget that's mentioned in there. That is slightly different from what you currently receive. My understanding is that your current situation is that there is a deductible where the first $300 are paid for however many expenses there may be, up to, I believe, $9,000 per year. That is a $20,000 R&M budget that we're suggesting. That money can be used in any size or scale within its budget, and if the money is not used, it's returned back to you at the end of the year. So we're not incentivized to do anything extra, nor are we incentivized to keep the money, because it's essentially just a streamlined process that allows us to get work done quicker.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you for your time. Thanks, sir.
Are we looking for a motion now to move forward?
So it would be the board's choice. So what you could do this evening is, if the board would like to move forward with CWS taking over the ER plants, what the board could do would be to make a recommendation to have the town manager enter into an agreement with them not to exceed the cost that's associated on the proposal. That would be an option. Again, this doesn't have to be voted on this evening. However, our current agreement with Viola does come up for renewal in July. So if we did not take action tonight and we were going to make a change, we would have to do so at the very latest at our last meeting in this month, which would be technically our July meeting. But that's getting pretty close, because you're looking at maybe June 29th is the date of our next meeting. So, but again, that's at the discretion of the board this evening, but that could be a route if the board feels comfortable with going this route, then you could direct myself to enter into the agreement not to exceed.
So does you said June 29th?
Would that give ample time, Brian? I don't want to be speaking out of turn and
I would say for a smooth transition, the earlier the better, so that you have proper time to review any contracts and make suggested changes. We wouldn't want to put you up against the deadline where you may have to, change what's wanted.
I was going to say June 29th seems very tight. That's a tight turnaround.
The contract expires at the end of the month. Yeah. Meeting on June 20th.
Well, I will propose it to the board. Does anyone want to make a motion to allow our town manager to go into discussions with Clearwater Solutions not to exceed the total annual amount that is captured here in your bulletin?
I'll make a motion that we let our town manager pursue discussions as suggested with Clearwater Solutions.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Smith. Any discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion is approved. Thank you so much. And now we are to our citizens' comments section of the evening. If you would like to come up to the podium and ask a question about anything you have heard here tonight, this is your opportunity to do so. If you're looking for clarity on anything that was discussed, okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn our June 1st, 2026 Town Hall meeting for Farmville?
Motion to adjourn.
Commissioner Smith made a motion to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Y'all have a great evening. Thank you so much.